Do you ever wonder why the person who hurts you the most is also the one you feel most drawn to? You tell yourself it's love, that it's fate, that something about them, they just get you. But then they pull away, or they criticize you, or they threaten to break up with you, or they do break up with you. And instead of leaving, you fall more in love with them. And when they come back to you to make up, no matter how badly they treated you, you experience it like salvation, like someone just saved your life. You feel a joy deeper than anything you've ever known because they came back, and you think, wow, this is love. But what if I told you that what those intense emotions you feel when this happens is not love at all? What it is a trauma bond. Now, if you grew up with abuse and neglect and chaos, you probably learned very early that love meant pain. Not all the time, but enough. Love meant walking on eggshells, trying to earn appreciation, getting close and then getting pushed away again and again. And that cycle of being loved one minute and rejected the next, it trains your nervous system to feel hooked on inconsistency. So when a romantic partner gives you mixed messages, part-time affection, broken promises, maybe even cruelty, your brain lights up, oh, that's the love feeling, that intensity. Okay, it's definitely not love. It's survival behavior. It's leftover from childhood. And if no one ever told you that, of course you'd keep chasing the wrong people. You might recognize the pattern. One minute they're all over you, texting constantly, saying all the right things. And the next minute they vanish. You're shut out, you're canceled, you're ghosted, and you're left trying to figure out, what did I do wrong? What did I do? You tell yourself, well, maybe I was too much, right? That's one of my favorites. Or you try to dial it down. You try to be low maintenance. You try to be cool girl. You stay calm when they ignore you. It stops being about loving them, and it starts being about getting them to want you. You wait for a little crumb of attention. You hold on to, that rare little good moment that you get. It feels like fulfilling love, like I got the little cookie, But what it really is, it's a trauma bond, and a trauma bond, a lot of people think it means two traumatized people, getting attached at the hip, but that's not really what it is. It's called intermittent reinforcement. And it's when the reward is given and taken away and given and taken away. Love, cruelty, love, cruelty, love, cruelty. And it hooks your brain. It feels like chemistry, like butterflies, like obsession, interspersed with crushing sadness and disappointment and grief. But that's not love. It's your system stuck in survival mode. It's an old pattern trying to solve something from the past, trying to earn love, that never felt certain, trying to fix what hurt you. You're not falling in love, you're falling into brain chemistry, basically. It's just kind of a reflex in there that keeps you stuck. Stuck on people who hurt you, stuck confusing chaos for passion, for meaning. When something's calm and kind, it'll feel kind of, almost like boring, embarrassing, uncomfortable. You might find yourself thinking, there's no spark here. And often, if you've been in a trauma bond in a long time, it will take a lot of healing before you can be attracted to a person who actually likes you and doesn't bring problems into your life. But that spark, that's just the high of trying to earn approval. And that's your trauma lighting up, just driving, running the train there. It's not love. And if it's happened more than once, if this pattern keeps repeating, it's not because you're broken, it's because your trauma hasn't healed. It's, something that has not calmed in your nervous system yet. You can heal. Trauma will repeat itself until you do. So it's a good idea to get started on it. The names and faces will change of the people who hurt you. The outcome will be the same. It'll sometimes even get worse over time, or it'll have a few different colors, right? This time it's drugs. This time it's another, lover. This time, whatever it is. But it's not fate. It's not a curse. That's so often what people think. They think I'm cursed. It's always like this. It's not always like this because you're cursed. It's because it's a pattern. It's a sign that you've been conditioned for danger. And that's what gives you your dopamine, your charge, your thrill. So still trying to win a game that was rigged from the start. never goes anywhere. Still hoping that if you just do it right this time, it's going to feel safe. It's going to finally, love will finally just envelop you into safety. So how do you break the trauma bond? How do you pull away when every part of you feels like it's life and death to hang on? So you start with self-regulation, small, consistent steps every day to regulate your nervous system. In my experience, it's very hard to do anything constructive when you're dysregulated. You might get 2 steps forward and then 2 steps back, 2, 3 steps back. Dysregulation makes it so you can barely process or remember what you're learning. So this is how you start to get your power back. This is how you get your clarity back. This is how you stop believing the lie that pain is a sign of deep love. So one thing you can do is start with the daily practice that I teach. And this is a very simple but specific writing technique that you use to get out and process and face your harsh, fearful, negative feelings and thoughts. And these are the twin techniques that I've used for 30 years that I teach in my program and in my method. It's the beginning place. It's a way to start processing the backlog of all the painful and negative, angry, anxious thoughts inside, the feelings. It's jammed up. And we now know that when people have been traumatized as kids, there can be a real difficulty processing thoughts and feelings at a normal speed. Process means it goes from being a charged thing going on where you're in danger, your heart's pounding, you're full of adrenaline. And once it's processed, it's now just a memory. You can think about that event happening, but you don't have this huge hormone reaction to it. So that's not happening enough. We're constantly it's ping-ponging around these things that our body is reacting to as if the danger is happening right now. So we start unpacking that. There are a number of ways you can do that. People teach somatic methods, body methods. Talking is often not the best way to get it out for that. That was definitely the lesson I learned when I used to go to talk therapy when I had just survived a really terrible and brutal assault on the street. Talking about it, I was getting worse, not better. That was before anybody really understood, there's a better way to process the thoughts and feelings. They're stuck and looping around when you've been traumatized. So we get them in this technique. We sit down twice a day and we get them on a piece of paper. It's not just a list. I really would invite you to take the free course so that it's short. You can learn how to do it, but it's really important to do it properly because sometimes dwelling on your fearful and resentful thoughts without the right technique to get them out and release them, it would make you feel worse. It would bring you down. And I don't want that to happen to you. So you write them down and then you follow it with 20 minutes of meditation. So it's very simple. Anyone can do it, whether or not they have access to professional help. You don't have to get it perfect. You don't have to believe it's working. You don't have to believe anything. You can just do it and get your experience of what it does for you, just day after day. The act of writing, then meditating can break the spell. You get space from those spinning thoughts, the torment, the obsession, and you start to see what's real. And this is so critical when you've been in a trauma-bonded relationship. Thinking gets very distorted. It gets much more emotional than reasonable, and that's for a very specific reason going on in your brain. Your brain is limited in the reason and exaggerated in the emotions. And so when you can start to process those thoughts and feelings, you get a little closer to be able to perceive things as they are. And if it's bad, that's very important for you to perceive. And if you have choices about what to do about it, those are critical to perceive. Hey, I've got a quick invite for you. I made a free daily practice course that shows you 2 simple techniques to calm the storm when you're triggered inside. It's short, it's powerful, and it helps you feel clearer, more focused, and more at ease, fast. Click the second link in the description section below, or use the QR code right there, and you can start your course right away. The trauma bond can only work when you're in a state of confusion. It needs you to stay in a swirl of fear and guilt and shame where you can never really land firmly in a position or a principle or a point of view. You become very fluid and impressionable. The daily practice, by naming what it is, what that swirl is, just line by line, I think of it like steel wool. It's so tangled with these brittle and sharp things. And it starts to come undone and it starts relaxing and it just turns into a big, nice, fluffy powder puff. It's not journaling. It's not journaling. Journaling is a way to chronicle and remember and maybe analyze what's going on. This is not that. This is This is a way to dump what's coming out. You don't analyze what you write. You're probably never going to read it. I encourage you not to. You just name it, you release it, you stop it from driving your choices unconsciously. And then you keep going. And even when it feels pointless, even when you're having a good day, that's often when people want to quit. The good days, the bad days, it becomes your habit to process your thoughts and feelings and to face what's true inside. There's a lot of suppressed emotion and opinion and arguments in there and protests of things that have happened to you, stuff that you didn't have room in your life to experience at the time. And as you begin to release layer after layer, more stuff comes up. And some days this can feel quite emotional and you're like, oh no, it's sad, is it working? But as long as you're safe, yeah, it's okay to gradually face what's under there, what's suppressed in you. Even when the voice in your head says, this will never help, you write that down, you go, fear, this will never help. And then you keep going, because the voice that doubts you and that doubts that you are helpable is just not a very wise voice. You are worthy of help, and help is available. And if this doesn't work for you, you will try another thing. But there are ways to process the thoughts and feelings that comprise your reaction to trauma. It's the part that got trained to survive in chaos that needs healing. If you're not in chaos anymore, but your brain and body are still acting like you are in chaos, it'll create chaos. Now it's learning to live in clarity. Now it's learning to live in peace. Next, when you've been in a trauma bond, it's time to go no contact if you can. Low contact if that's all you can do. But you don't want to punish the other person. You don't do anything harsh to make a point, but you want to interrupt the pattern to give yourself a fighting chance at having peace. Because every time you reach out, even silently, even just in your thoughts, you reignite the bond. Your heart just goes flying out, starts rationalizing why it's actually good to go back. You're not broken. You're just conditioned to stay connected to people who confuse you and, fill you with sadness as some sort of I don't know, it's like got a magic power to compel us to stay. But you can stop. And it starts with space. When you get the urge to reach out, don't follow it. Don't fight it. You can write, you can meditate, you can use the daily practice again. And I strongly encourage you to be with friends. A lot of people who have trauma and have been in a trauma bond relationship don't have friends. We've been so busy hiding and having a dysfunctional life, we're not very close to anybody. And this is what's so great about things like 12-step fellowships. If you have this kind of problem, you qualify for at least one 12-step program, and I encourage you to research that. That means there are meetings regularly, a place where you can go. If you live in a very remote place, there are online meetings you can go to and be with people who have similar experience to yours and are on the other side of it and who are there willing to offer their experience to you, and it costs nothing. I mean, you cannot beat that. In my program, we have daily practice calls for anybody who's taken the course, and I take questions, and that's a really lovely community. And for people who want to come in a little further, we have a membership program that has a lot of interaction. We have coaching programs. Check it out. You can find all of this on my website at crappychildhoodfairy.com. That urge to contact them is usually driven by fear, sometimes resentment, but mostly fear. Fear I'm not going to survive, fear I'll never find anybody else, fear no one's ever going to love me, fear I just don't understand it, but somehow this is all my fault. So it gets on paper, and there's something about the friction of your hand writing on the paper, and you see it there. It departs from, it's just not so immediate with you. It doesn't do magic tricks of like it never existed or you're just perfectly blissful afterwards. It just gives you some breathing room between that feeling or that thought and you, the part of you that has agency and the capacity to be honest with yourself starts to glow up. You can start to see truth. There's something in us that restricts us from seeing the truth of things sometimes. It's almost as if there's an angel inside of us that is like, honey, I don't think you can handle this quite yet. I'm going to give it to you in little drips. So the truth is, the obsession isn't love. It's a trauma loop. And once you stop feeding it, it'll just start to dissolve. The writing I teach is not a journal. It's not about recording your life or your thoughts. It's not about emotional exploration. It's about cutting through the noise, getting clear when your mind is full of, fear and resentment. It's like when your mind is full like that, it's like a flea market or something after closing, where there's just like clothes lying on the ground and garbage and snow cones and whatever. There's no clarity. There's no peace. just a mess of old feelings and imagined conversations and desperate what-if feelings. And you clear that mess by writing, by telling the truth on paper, by allowing what does not belong in your mind to be removed. Now, some of us, I do this like a prayer. I ask God to remove it. That's how the whole thing is written. I put God at the top of the page. If you're not so inclined to do that, you can release it from your higher self. You don't want what does not belong in your mind anymore. And it takes a little bit of a leap of faith to trust that if you ask for it to be removed or you release it, the things you do need to remember will be returned to you, but a little bit tidier. So try it and see what happens. You don't have to take anything on faith. You don't have to believe everything I say. You're not going to have an experience exactly like mine, but you can find out what your experience is when you do it. And when that confusion clears, yeah, sometimes what's left is peace, and sometimes what's left is grief. It's grief for the love you never got, the person who you were trauma bonded with, who they pretended to be, who you hoped they were, that hope you kept alive even when they showed you again and again who they were. You know, you won't miss them eventually. First, what you miss, it's not them, it's the fantasy. It's the idea that you thought they were of, or the potential relationship that you hoped you were going to have, that you thought you were moving towards. You know, who they could have been if only you had been a better person, if only you were pretty enough or thin enough or said the right thing or didn't say the wrong thing. We've all done this, but that's not really the truth. It just wasn't any good. There was cruelty there. If a relationship makes you feel devastated and drained and discouraged, it's just not a good relationship. Call it what you will. But real love doesn't require you to fix anyone. It doesn't require force. It doesn't hurt so much. Real love is calm. It's kind. It's consistent. It's not a game. You don't have to pretend anything. It doesn't confuse you. It doesn't demand your silence. It doesn't make you have to lie to your friends or hide the relationship from them. It doesn't make you beg, and it doesn't break you. You're a person who learned how to survive pain, but survival isn't enough anymore. Now you get to learn peace. You don't need closure either. You don't need them to understand. You don't need to understand. You don't need to wait until you feel ready or until you feel willingness. Once you see this for what it is, you need your willingness to stop handing your life over to someone who doesn't value it. So let go first and then begin to heal. You don't wait until the pain is gone. You choose healing in the middle of the pain, in the middle of the uncertainty. And as you do, you begin to come back to yourself. Your inner power comes back. That's what's not in your calculation of how are you going to get through this. You forgot that when you're out of it, this inner power will come to you. The parts of you that have been silenced, the parts that disappeared, the parts that twisted themselves into a shape that someone else could love. Hey, it's me, and real fast, if you're watching my videos and wondering if maybe past trauma is having an effect on your life today, I want to share with you a list of signs that what you're struggling with now might be connected with neglect or abuse in your childhood. It's good to know this because it can help you know that what's hard for you right now is normal and that healing is possible. You can download my Signs of Childhood PTSD quiz by clicking the top link in the description section below or using that QR code right there. You can stop betraying yourself now, and you can start remembering who you are. One fear, one resentment, one day, one step towards truth and calm and real love at a time. You break the trauma bond by choosing reality and choosing yourself. Not just once, but again and again, even when it's tempting to go back. And as the bond dissolves, your true and real self begins to shine, and other people begin to see you for who you really are, and life starts to come up. That's where real love begins.